6 women, 5 different empires built on deception, and each one believed that she was untouchable. So for years, they operated in plain sight. They had accumulated wealth, influence, and followers who either feared them or wanted to be like them. Then, the complaints started piling up. Their victims multiplied, but the consequences remained distant until they finally didn't. And one by one, the walls started closing in. The arrests came in courtrooms, at international borders, and some in foreign countries where they had fled, believing that their distance would mean safety. But the law finally caught up with them. This is the story of how Ghana's most wanted women rose to power, how they evaded justice for years, and how they were finally busted. The channel is book number 7, and my name is Nana Kwesi. Please, why haven't you subscribed yet? Let's get back to our story. At number 6, we have Patricia Esiedu, popularly known in Ghana as Agrada. It's March 3rd, 2026. A woman dressed in white walks out of Insawan prison. Her husband is waiting at the gates with cameras rolling. 12 months earlier, she had been sentenced to 15 years for scamming desperate Ghanaians out of their savings. And before that, she was an evangelist promising to double money through divine intervention. And right before that, she was a fetish priestess broadcasting money multiplication rituals on national television. Her name is Patricia Esiedu, but Ghana knew her as Nana Agrada. And her story, from shrine to church to courtroom to prison and back to church, reveals how easily faith becomes a weapon in the hands of someone willing to prey on hope. So Thunder TV and Ice One TV broadcast from Accra, reaching thousands of Ghanaians desperate for financial breakthrough. And on the screen, there's a woman draped in traditional fetish regalia that sat among carved idols and ritual objects, speaking with absolute confidence about supernatural wealth multiplication. Her name was Nana Agrada. She promised her viewers that through a ritual called Sika Gari, which literally means money vehicle, she could double, triple, or multiply whatever cash they brought to her shrine in Sotum, which is a suburb of Accra. Bring 1,000 cedis, leave with 10,000. Bring 10,000 cedis, walk away with 100,000. So the message was clear, seductive, and broadcast openly, despite laws against charlatanic advertisement. So people came. Some of them brought their savings, others had also borrowed money, and they all handed them over to Patricia at her shrine. Some of them claimed that they had received multiple funds, but most of them later discovered that they had been scammed. So the complaints reached authorities repeatedly, but nothing stopped the broadcasts. So rumors circulated that Patricia was untouchable, that her spiritual power and money protected her from consequences. For years, she operated with impunity, while her fame and notoriety grew in equal measure. She flaunted her wealth, her power, and a defiant attitude toward anyone who questioned her methods. In 2015, Rafa University College awarded her an honorary doctorate for humanitarian and philanthropic contributions, which made her operation look legitimate, and that made the scam even more effective. Then came April 2021. Ghana's National Communications Authority and state security forces raided her facilities, shut down Thunder TV and Ice One TV, and seized her broadcasting equipment. The charges were operating without proper authorization and using her platform for charlatanic advertisement. And you know what? Thunder TV's authorization had been revoked in March 2020, but Patricia herself had continued broadcasting anyway. Now the government had begun cracking down on spiritualists and money doublers following a particularly gruesome crime in which two teenagers had murdered a 10-year-old boy named Ishmael Abdallah in Kaswa at the request of a female spiritualist who had promised them wealth. The public outcry from this case immediately created political pressure to act against the entire industry of spiritual scammers, and Patricia's high profile made her an obvious target. So she was arrested, charged, and convicted under Section 110 of the Electronic Transactions Act 2008. The court found her guilty of charlatanic advertisement and fined her 36,000 cedis with the alternative of 3 years in prison. Patricia then paid the fine and she avoided jail, but her television empire was gone. Her income stream had also been severed, and the shrine business that had made her wealthy and so notorious could no longer reach the mass audience that television provided. So she needed a new strategy, a new market, and a new way to monetize the desperation of people looking for miracles. Now brace yourselves, because the story is about to get even crazier. On April 29, 2021, which was just 8 days after her arrest, Patricia stood before cameras surrounded by pastors, journalists, and her husband, Pastor Eric Odro-Cranting. She announced that she was abandoning traditional worship and converting to Christianity. So in a dramatic display orchestrated for maximum media impact, she burned all her idols and shrine artifacts while the pastors laid hands over her and prayed for her. Pastor Joseph Kojotre of Trusted Word Ministries baptized her, and then she emerged as evangelist Patricia Odro-Cranting, declaring that she had seen the error of her ways and embraced Jesus Christ. You see, the timing was convenient and the narrative was compelling, because look, a notorious fetish priestess repenting and turning to God, that would definitely make the news. And it did. It made headlines across Ghana, and it provided Patricia with exactly what she needed: a fresh start with a built-in audience of people who wanted to believe in redemption stories. So she would later claim that her husband had begged her to leave the fetish priestess business because it embarrassed him as a pastor, that he had brought Pastor Trey to convince her, and that she had made the switch thinking her husband would lead their new church while she followed. But you see, those plans changed when her husband allegedly abandoned her to run the ministry alone. So within months, Patricia had established Heavyweight Champion International Ministry at Wager, broadcasting services, and also building a congregation. The old format had shifted, but the underlying approach remained familiar, which is promises of supernatural intervention in exchange for money, charismatic performances broadcast to desperate audiences, and Patricia at the center claiming divine power to solve problems that seemed unsolvable through ordinary means. So her past as Nana Agrada became part of her testimony, which was proof that God could transform anyone, which actually enhanced her credibility among certain believers who saw her conversion as miraculous. And here comes the surprising and jaw-dropping part. So on October 5th, 2022, Patricia advertised on Today's TV and across social media platforms that she possessed the ability to double money for anyone who attended a special all-night service at Heavyweight Champion International Ministry on October 7th. And over 1,000 people showed up, bringing their cash, hoping that they would be miraculously multiplied. Now, according to multiple witnesses and subsequent investigations, Patricia collected the money from the attendees with promises of doubling it, and then had her bodyguards remove people from the building when they demanded their returns. Many videos started circulating on social media showing angry congregants outside her church shouting that they had been scammed. One person even described how Patricia advertised that people should bring 10,000 cedis and receive 200,000 cedis, but instead she just collected their money and then ordered them to leave. They had all traveled from across Ghana believing an evangelist's promise of divine financial multiplication, and they had lost money that they couldn't afford to lose. So the Ghana police commenced investigations on October 10th, 2022, after many complaints had flooded in. And this time, Patricia couldn't avoid arrest. She was immediately taken into custody and charged with multiple counts of charlatanic advertisement and defrauding by false pretenses. Now her initial bail applications were denied. She had to spend days in detention before finally securing bail on October 18th, 2022, which was her birthday, for 50,000 cedis, with 3 government employee sureties earning at least 2,000 cedis monthly. The court ordered her to report to police every Wednesday while the case proceeded. The prosecution built their case methodically. They presented evidence of Patricia's social media advertisements promising money doubling. Then they brought forward the victims who testified about handing over their cash and receiving nothing in return. They also demonstrated a pattern that stretched from her days as Nana Agrada through her supposed conversion to her current incarnation as an evangelist. The same fundamental scam wrapped in different spiritual packaging. Now, whether she claimed power came from traditional gods or the Christian God, it made no difference to the mechanics of fraud. For Patricia's defense, they argued that the actual amounts involved were relatively small and that she hadn't absconded or interfered with witnesses, and that the money doubling itself was illegal in Ghana, suggesting that the complainants were equally culpable for participating. But the prosecution countered that Patricia had actively solicited people through deceptive advertisements, had collected money under false pretenses, and had used her platform and influence to prey on vulnerable people who were seeking financial miracles. So the distinction between victims foolish enough to believe impossible promises and a perpetrator deliberately exploiting that foolishness was clear in law. So on July 3rd, 2025, the Accra Circuit Court delivered its verdict. Patricia was found guilty on multiple counts of charlatanic advertisement and defrauding by false pretenses. So the court ordered a pregnancy test before sentencing, as Ghanaian law prohibits imprisoning pregnant women under such conditions. Patricia, however, wasn't pregnant, and the sentence came down. 15 years in prison with hard labor. The punishment stunned many observers. Ghana's social media exploded. You see, 15 years was so severe even by standards for fraud cases in Ghana. So Patricia was sent to Insawan prison to serve a sentence. The woman, who had once broadcast to thousands from television studios and preached from pulpits to park congregations, now wore prison clothes and slept in a cell. Her newly wedded husband, Angel Esiama, also showed public support and oftentimes went to visit her. Now behind prison walls, Patricia's legal team had prepared an appeal challenging the 15-year sentence as disproportionate to the crime. They argued that while the conviction was appropriate, the punishment was unduly harsh given the amount involved and the circumstances. So they pointed to Ghana's sentencing guidelines for fraud and noted that Patricia's sentence exceeded norms for similar cases. And the appeal made its way through Ghana's court system while Patricia remained incarcerated, her empire dismantled, and her future uncertain. Eventually, the Amasaman High Court reviewed the appeal, and they reached a decision that would change everything. Now, while upholding Patricia's conviction that she was guilty, the judges exercised their discretionary power to reduce the sentence. So the original 15 years with hard labor was excessive. The court ruled the punishment didn't match the offense when considered proportionally. And now the new sentence, it was 1 year. Yes, 1 year effective from the date of her original conviction on July 3rd, 2025. So the mathematics meant Patricia would serve 12 months in total. So with the time already served, her release date arrived sooner than anyone had anticipated. On March 3rd, 2026, her husband, Angel Esiama, posted a video on Facebook showing the couple at their residence, surrounded by relatives and everyone dressed in white. The caption read simply, "Thank God my wife is finally home." But Patricia had reinvented herself before. From fetish priestess to evangelist, and each transformation had been built on the last, and each persona had attracted followers willing to believe in her power or her redemption or both. Now she faces yet another reinvention, and this time as someone who had served time for fraud but claimed to have learned from her mistakes. Now, whether Ghanaians would buy that narrative, whether new followers would fill her church, whether she would return to the tactics that had brought her fame and notoriety and ultimately prison, all remain open questions. Her husband spoke of vacation plans, suggesting that they'll take time to rest and recover before deciding the next steps. Former associates and critics all watched carefully, wondering if Patricia would genuinely change or simply find new methods for the same fundamental operation that she had run under various names for over a decade. Her defenders argued that everyone deserves second chances, that she had paid a debt to society, and that Christianity teaches forgiveness. As for the victims who lost their money to Patricia's schemes, they didn't get their cash back. And whether she will scam again, preach again, build another following willing to trust her despite everything that's come before, depends on questions only time will answer. What is certain is this: the Patricia Esiedu story isn't over. it's just entered another chapter, and the whole of Ghana is watching to see what she does next. Before we reveal number 5, a quick one. We've just launched a new channel where we dive much deeper into important Ghanaian stories. From trending events to fascinating moments in our history, we explore them all in detail. The channel is called Akwaba House. Please go subscribe and check out our very first story right here. Alright, so at number 5, we have Salamatu Kambonaba, aka Sally Monte Carlo. In 2008, her name was everywhere. We are talking video interviews, newspaper features, and magazine covers. She was the epitome of glamour, the definition of success, and the woman every aspiring socialite wanted to be. She owned a high-end fashion house, a restaurant, a nightclub, a $1 million mansion, and a fleet of luxury cars. She rubbed shoulders with presidential candidates and was truly living the dream. And then, just as quickly as she rose, she fell. Arrested in England, detained in the Netherlands, and sentenced to prison, her empire crumbled. Her businesses closed, and she vanished from Ghana's social scene. This is the story of Sally Monte Carlo, Ghana's original slave queen, the woman who had it all and lost everything. So Sally's real name was actually Salamatu Kambonaba. Born in Ghana, though her exact birth date remains unknown, she grew up shuttling between Ghana and Europe. These are two worlds where she developed a taste for the finer things in life. That taste for luxury would eventually define everything about her. And so after spending years in Europe, Sally returned to Ghana in the year 2004, but she didn't come back empty-handed. She came back with a vision and a dream. She wanted to bring the glamour and opulence of Monaco to her homeland. Monaco, that tiny wealthy principality on the French Riviera known for its casinos, yachts, Formula One races, and millionaires, is the epitome of luxury living, and Sally had fallen in love with it. Specifically, she had fallen in love with Monte Carlo, the most famous district in Monaco where the rich and famous gather, where wealth is on full display, and where living an affluent lifestyle is the norm. In an interview with Modern Ghana, Sally explained her inspiration. Everybody in Monaco lives an affluent lifestyle. There is so much class attached to the name. I developed a taste for the finer things, and I wanted to bring that elegance to Ghana. So she took the name Sally Monte Carlo. In the year 2004, Sally established her first business, that is Monte Carlo Forever Fashion. It was a high-end fashion house located off of Osu Oxford Street in Accra. This wasn't your average clothing store. This was luxury retail for Ghana's elite. But Sally didn't stop at fashion, because why limit yourself to one business when you can build an empire? So she expanded her brand and opened Monte Carlo Grand Cafe. It was a plush restaurant that quickly became a hotspot for Accra's creme de la creme. And then came the exclusive VIP private club, which was another Monte Carlo establishment. These venues attracted celebrities, politicians, and business moguls. In fact, we are talking anyone who was anyone in Accra wanted to be seen at Sally's establishments. Now, think about what she had accomplished. In just a few years, she had built multiple successful businesses. She created a brand synonymous with luxury and instantly became a household name, all the while maintaining the image of effortless elegance. But the businesses were just one part of the Sally Monte Carlo package. The real attraction was Sally herself. Sally's exquisite taste was evident in everything. You could see it from the authentic high-end furniture that adorned her establishments to the luxurious international designer outfits she wore. We are talking Christian Dior, Gucci, Roberto Cavalli, and these weren't knockoffs. These were the real deal. She embodied extravagance. And then there were the cars. Oh, the cars! Sally didn't just own one luxury vehicle. She owned a fleet. We are talking a Hummer H2, a 2007 Range Rover Sport, a Mercedes X-Class 500, a Cadillac Escalade, and many more. Each vehicle was a statement, a rolling advertisement for the Monte Carlo brand. When Sally pulled up somewhere, people noticed, and how could they not? She resided in a $1 million mansion. Now, in 2008 Ghana, that was serious money. And it's still serious money. It's the kind of money that made people ask questions like, where did it come from? How did she do it? What was her secret? Sally was often spotted rubbing shoulders with high-profile individuals. And this wasn't just business networking. This was social capital. And it was proof that she had made it into Ghana's upper echelons. By the year 2008, Sally Monte Carlo had created a dream world of wealth and status, one that many admired and aspired to be part of. She was the blueprint, the original, the one everyone wanted to copy. The media, they couldn't get enough of her, with video interviews showcasing her lifestyle and articles detailing her business. She was everywhere, being synonymous to the face of luxury in Ghana. But here's the thing about living such a public, luxurious life. There will always be people who will start to ask many questions. Now, Sally's businesses were successful. Yes, they were. The Monte Carlo Forever Fashion, the restaurant, the nightclub, these were all profitable ventures. But were they profitable enough to support a $1 million mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, constant designer outfits, international travel, and the lifestyle she was living? Some people accepted her success at face value, seeing her as a savvy businesswoman who had made smart investments and capitalized on Ghana's growing middle class and their appetite for luxury. There were also others who were skeptical, whispering about other sources of income, wondering if there was more to the story, and speculating what wasn't being said in those glossy magazine interviews. But Sally, she kept living her life, building her brand, and showcasing that Monte Carlo lifestyle. If there were questions, she didn't address them publicly. She just kept shining until she couldn't anymore. The year was 2011, or maybe 2012, as the exact timing is unclear from various reports. But what happened is not in dispute. Sally Monte Carlo's glittering empire came crashing down. She was arrested in England. The charge? Drug-related offenses. The specifics were not publicly detailed. The amount involved remained unknown, and the circumstances of the arrest were not disclosed. The information we have is limited. She was detained in England first, and then the Netherlands got involved. She was arrested there too, and eventually she was sentenced to prison in the Netherlands, specifically in Amsterdam, according to some reports. And the news, it spread quickly in Ghana. Sally Monte Carlo arrested for what? People just couldn't believe it. The woman who had been the face of luxury and the epitome of success was in prison. Her businesses closed. Monte Carlo Forever Fashion was gone. The restaurant shut down, and the nightclub was no longer operating. The entire empire that she had built over years was dismantled in what seemed like an instant. Sally disappeared from Ghana's social scene completely. One moment, she was everywhere, and the next, nowhere. Inexplicably gone, as one report put it. Her former friends couldn't or wouldn't say much about her whereabouts. The media that had once celebrated her was now reporting on her downfall, and the socialites who had admired her were moving on to the next big thing. Now, here's where the story gets frustrating, because we don't have all the details. The court proceedings weren't publicized in Ghana. The specific charges weren't detailed in reports. The evidence presented wasn't made public, and the sentencing information is vague. What we are left with are fragments. She was arrested, yes. It was drug-related. She was in England, then the Netherlands. She was sentenced, and she served time. That's about it. But according to Monte Oz, a Ghanaian blogger and TV presenter who found himself mistakenly linked to her story, this wasn't Sally's first arrest. He told reporters, "This is like the third time I heard she has been jailed over drugs." Third time? And if that's accurate, it means Sally had been arrested for drug offenses before. That is multiple times. And yet, she continued living her lavish lifestyle in Ghana, continued building her businesses, and continued being celebrated in the media. How is that possible? How does someone get arrested multiple times for serious offenses and still maintain such a public, glamorous persona? These are the questions worth asking. Monte Oz also revealed something else interesting. Her real name is Salamatu Kambunaba, he said. She got married to a rich old white dude and fortunately had a client attached to make her name a bit attractive.
Okay, so let's get to know your husband and then your kid.
My husband is a retired private businessman. He originates from Holland. He was born in Holland, but his parents are from Monaco in France. He lives in Monaco, so sometimes he calls himself Dutch, sometimes he's French. You can call him whatever.
Now, there is nothing inherently wrong with that. Of course, many people use stage names and many entrepreneurs build personal brands. But it does show the level of image management involved. You see, Sally Monte Carlo wasn't just living a luxury lifestyle. She was actually creating one, curating it, and presenting a specific version of herself to the public. And that curated image worked. It did for years. It worked brilliantly. She became famous, successful, and admired until the facade crumbled. After her arrest and imprisonment, Sally essentially vanished from public life. So, no more magazine interviews, there were no more video features, and no more public sightings at high-profile events. Just gone. Her businesses remain closed, and the Monte Carlo brand, once so prominent in Accra, just faded into memory. A new generation of socialites emerged as social media changed how people showcased wealth, using Instagram and Snapchat replacing physical presence at exclusive venues. So the Sally Monte Carlo era ended. And with it, perhaps a certain kind of celebrity culture in Ghana. She had been the last of a pre-social media generation of socialites, the ones who built their fame through actual businesses and physical presence rather than followers and likes. Today, when Ghanaians talk about Sally Monte Carlo, there are many opinions that vary. There are some who remember her fondly for the glamour that she brought, the businesses that she built, and the way she made Ghana look sophisticated and cosmopolitan. There are also others who see her and use her as a cautionary tale, as a reminder that not all that glitters is gold, that luxury lifestyles sometimes have dark funding sources, and that facades will eventually crumble. And some simply don't know who she was, as a younger generation that came of age after her fall has no memory of the Sally Monte Carlo era. For them, she is just a name, a story older people tell, or a relic of pre-Instagram celebrity culture. But her impact on Ghana's social scene can't be denied because she set standards and she created a blueprint. The socialites and slay queens of today, they are following a path Sally helped create, showcasing luxury and building brands around their lifestyles, though the main difference is that they are doing it on social media rather than in physical establishments. Sally Monte Carlo was the original, the pioneer. For better or worse, she changed what was possible for women in Ghana's social scene. Her story reminds us that nothing is permanent. Fame will fade. Empires can crumble. The spotlight moves on, and the socialite of today is forgotten tomorrow. But it also reminds us of the mark one person can make. Many years after her heyday, there are still people who talk about Sally Monte Carlo, who still remember the Monte Carlo Grand Cafe, and still recall the glamour that she brought to Ghana. Man, time really flies. I can't believe those of us who witnessed that era are referred to as old now. Number 4 is Mona Faiz Montrage, aka Hajia for real. And her story starts in November 2022 in London, United Kingdom. Ghanaian socialite Mona Faiz Montrage, who is known to her Instagram followers as Hajia for real, is arrested by British authorities under the request of the FBI. Her Instagram showcased her living an opulent lifestyle. We are talking seeing her in designer clothes, going on international travels, and even having her own music videos. She's among Ghana's top 10 most followed profiles, so she's been labeled a celebrity, an influencer, and even went on to become a musician. But the FBI knew something that her followers didn't. She was actually part of a criminal organization called the Enterprise. They had been defrauding Americans for years, according to the FBI. And from the FBI reports, Hajia for real's role was very specific. Now her role in this scheme was to receive money from the victims of romance scams. Here we are talking elderly men and women who thought they were in love, who believed that they had found for themselves someone special, and who trusted the person on the other end of those messages. Now these scams, what they do is use multiple false pretenses. Here we are talking payments to transport gold to the US from overseas, or payments to resolve a fake FBI unemployment investigation, or even payments to help a fake US Army officer receive funds from Afghanistan. In one particular case, Hajia for real used her real name. She spoke to the victim multiple times by phone, and she also sent him a tribal marriage certificate which claimed that they were married in Ghana, so so that will convince him to send about 82 wire transfers which total to 89,000 US dollars, supposedly to help her father's farm. And so in total, Haja for real controlled bank accounts that received over $2 million in fraudulent funds. And what she does afterwards is to then launder that money to the other members of the enterprise. She was extradited from the UK to the United States in May 2023. Now, initially, she pleaded not guilty, but in February 2024, she changed her plea to guilty on one count of conspiracy to receive stolen money. The prosecution, they wanted 37 months, but in June 2024, the judge showed some leniency. So she was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison, and also ordered to forfeit $2,164,758.41 US dollars, and ordered to pay the same amount in restitution to the victims. She was then released in May 2025 after serving her sentence and deported, which is back to Ghana. At number 3, we have Ruby Appiah, popularly known as Na Ayele Ametepe. It's November 10th, 2014 at London Heathrow Airport. A woman steps off British Airways flight BA078 from Accra, Ghana, the BA standing for British Airways. She is well dressed and confident. She is traveling first class and has multiple passports in her bag. And hidden in her luggage, 12.5 kilograms of pure cocaine with a street value that is nearly £2 million, with other reports saying $5 million. What's her name? Well, that depends on who you ask. She is widely known as Na Ayele Ametepe, but also known as Ruby Edu Jemfi, Ruby Appiah, Angel, Nana, and Irene Teria. She had so many names, so many identities, that even investigators struggled to keep track. But on that day, on November 10th, 2014, all the names in the world couldn't save her. British authorities were waiting, and when they searched the bags, they didn't just find cocaine. This is what they found: $23,000 in cash, which was payment for her courier services, and another £6,000 as bonus. These findings would lead to discoveries that would shock Ghana to its core. This is the story of Na Ayele Ametepe, Ghana's so-called drag queen. Now you ask, how did a woman from an underprivileged background become one of the country's most notorious drug traffickers? How did she move substances through Ghana's most secure airport using the VVIP lounge reserved for presidents? Who protected her for over a decade? And where is she now? Buckle up, because this story has everything. We are talking luxury, corruption, political scandal, and a woman who played a dangerous game and lost.
Nayele Ametepe.
Nayele Ametepe.
Nayele Ametepe.
Nayele Ametepe.
Nayele, aka Ruby Appiah.
Let's start at the beginning. Before the Just Life, before the designer clothes, before the Night Angels electrical store she owned, and the $1.6 million mansion, there was just Ruby Appiah, a girl from an underprivileged home. Na Ayele Ametepe, as she would later be known, came from humble origins. Her real birth name was Ruby Appiah. She was born in Ghana, though she would later acquire Austrian citizenship. Her childhood was difficult. Her home life was broken, and at just 16 years old, she entered into what would become a 10-year marriage. Her husband was a spare parts dealer at Abosi Okan. Now, this happens to be Ghana's famous spare parts market in Accra. Now, if you know anything about Abossey Okai, you know that successful dealers there can make serious money. And Nayele's husband apparently was one of them. He was wealthy. I mean, very wealthy. And so suddenly, the girl from an underprivileged background was living a lavish lifestyle. We are talking designer clothes, expensive cars, and international travel, first class everything. She had 3 children with her husband. Their ages 16, 13, and 11. This is by the time of her arrest. Life was good, but then the marriage fell apart. She became a single mother of 3. And here's the problem. Once you've lived that high-class lifestyle, once you've tasted luxury, it is incredibly hard to go back. So Nayele was struggling, and she needed money to support her children. She needed money to maintain the lifestyle that she had become accustomed to. And that's when everything changed. According to testimony given during her trial, everything shifted for Nayele in 2004. That was the year she came into contact with powerful people, influential people. We are talking people in authority. Her defense lawyer told the court that after her marriage broke down, Nayele met a friend who introduced her to high personalities in society. And Nayele, who was vulnerable and needing to support her children, accepted most of the things that came her way. She became a companion to influential people. She traveled extensively with them. She flew first class. She lived the high life again. These powerful protectors supported her lifestyle. And what do they get in return? Well, that's where things get dark. Now, according to her own testimony in court, Nayele was introduced to the drug smuggling business by a businesswoman in Ghana, a woman in her late 50s whose name was never publicly revealed. The proposal was simple: transport packages across borders. The payment, substantial, more than enough to maintain that luxury lifestyle and take care of her 3 children. And so began Nayele Ametefe's decade-long career as an international drug courier. And by the time of her arrest in 2014, Nayele was living 2 lives. To the outside world, she was a successful businesswoman. She owned Night Angels Enterprise, that's a thriving electrical store located off the Achimota Tetekwashi section of the George Walker Bush Highway in Accra. The store was state-of-the-art. Business was booming. She lived in a luxurious mansion in East Legon that happens to be one of Accra's most exclusive neighborhoods. The house she owned was worth $1.6 million. She drove expensive cars, reportedly renting a luxury BMW for her personal use and paying huge amounts daily. She dressed impeccably. She appeared to be a successful entrepreneur, but people were suspicious. How was she making this much money from an electrical store? Where was all this wealth really coming from? Even the former NACO boss, NACO being Narcotics Control Board, by name Akrasi Sapon, had his eye on her. He invited her to his office for questioning when he was appointed, but there was no concrete evidence to detain her at the time. She was smart and intelligent, Akrasi Sapon would later say. Smart enough to stay one step ahead of the law. Smart enough to maintain her cover until November 10th, 2014. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting, because Nayele wasn't just any drug courier. She had access. We are talking high-level access. And so on November 10th, 2014, Nayele arrived at the Kotoka International Airport with 2 companions who were women named Nanekua Amponsa and Sadalia Nuhu. She had in her hand 2 suitcases, and she didn't go through the normal passenger terminal like everyone else. No, Nayele and her companions went through the VVIP lounge. That's the very, very important personality section of the airport that's supposed to be reserved for Ghana's president, vice president, and top government officials. We are talking a highly restricted area with special security protocols. But on that day, Nayeli breezed right through. How, you may ask? Did she have any inside help? Well, we don't know. According to investigations, a director at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs named Abel Ashite Ama, who was in charge of both the VVIP and VIP lounges, authorized her passage. He instructed two of his subordinates to let Nayeli and her friends access the VIP lounge, which shares a border with the presidential lounge. Those subordinates, we are talking Theophilus Kisi of the research department, who was attached to the VVIP lounge, and Abubakar Ahmed, who was a civil servant. They facilitated Nayeli's access to the restricted area. And here's the kicker. Only one of Nayeli's 2 suitcases was checked at the airport. The other suitcase, that's the one containing the 12.5 kilograms of cocaine wrapped in 1 kilo blocks, did not go through routine custom checks. And that is according to reports. It was brought safely into the first class section of British Airways flight BA078. You see, Nayeli wasn't just a drug smuggler. She was a drug smuggler with connections. And so that made her extremely dangerous. So Nayeli boards BA078 to London. She's flying first class. She has her cocaine-filled suitcase. She has $23,000 in her handbag, which is payment for her courier services. She has an additional £6,000 as a bonus. She's traveling on her Austrian passport, though she also has a Ghanaian passport with her. And according to her own testimony, London wasn't even her final destination. She was supposed to be going to the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean, but she planned to stop over in London to shop and have a medical checkup, just a quick layover before completing her delivery. Now, here's where things went wrong. According to reports, during the flight, some first-class passengers noticed something odd. They saw Nayeli trying to fit 2 kilograms of her consignment into her handbag. It wasn't fitting properly in the luggage compartment, so she was trying to rearrange things. These observant passengers then alerted the crew members, and then the crew members in turn informed the ground staff at Heathrow Airport, and the ground staff contacted border security. So when flight BA078 landed at Heathrow on November 10, 2014, border security officials were ready and waiting. They ordered only the first-class passengers to disembark, and they asked Nayeli to step aside for a search. Oof, game over. So when British authorities searched Nayeli's luggage, they found exactly what they were looking for.
We found dozens of these packages concealed in your luggage and handbag. You are under arrest.
12.5 kilograms, later confirmed as 12 kilograms, of cocaine. The forensic analysis showed 79% purity. The street value, about 1.8 to 1.9 million pounds, or roughly $5 million as at that time. They also found the cash. Here we are talking the $23,000 and the £6,000 bonus. That was Nayeli's payment for what she thought would be a successful delivery. She was arrested on the spot and charged with Class A drug trafficking. The news spread like wildfire. Back in Ghana, the reaction was explosive. How had this happened? How had a woman managed to smuggle 12.5 kilograms of cocaine through Ghana's only international airport? And not just through any entrance, through the VVIP lounge? The political fallout was immediate. The opposition party then, which was the New Patriotic Party, that's the NPP, brought 3 bags of rice weighing 13 kilograms into parliament and asked, if we can bring this into parliament, How did around the same amount of cocaine get smuggled past security at our airport? They demanded answers. How did Nayeli access the presidential lounge? Was she traveling on a diplomatic passport? Who gave her protection? Were there connections to the ruling government? President John Dramani Mahama, who was in power at the time, was forced to respond. He denied any connections between his family and Nayeli, and then, in a dramatic move, he dissolved the entire 17-member governing board of NACOP, that's Ghana's Narcotics Control Board, which is now currently known as NACOC, the Narcotics Control Commission. One of the biggest controversies was whether Nayeli had been traveling on a Ghanaian diplomatic passport. And so an Austrian newspaper named Kronenzeitung reported that she brandished a diplomatic passport when security at Heathrow Airport stopped her. Multiple sources claimed she was carrying 3 passports at the time of her arrest. That's her Austrian passport, a regular Ghanaian passport, and allegedly, a diplomatic passport. Please take note of the word allegedly, because these are not my own words. And so the Ghanaian government vehemently denied this. The communications minister, as at that time, by name Dr. Edward Omaneboama, stated clearly, Miss Nayeli Ametepe traveled on an Austrian passport number P4187659 and not on a Ghanaian diplomatic passport as being speculated. She also had in her possession an ordinary Ghanaian passport number G0364497 issued on August 3rd, 2012. But unfortunately, the damage was done. The very fact that people believed she might have had a diplomatic passport showed how connected she was perceived to be. And whether or not she had that specific passport, there was one thing that was made clear. She had access to people and places that ordinary citizens don't. So, Nayeli appeared before the Isleworth Crown Court in London. There she was well dressed, as always, and she made a decision that surprised many. She pleaded guilty. On January 6, 2015, just 2 months after her arrest, she was sentenced. The judge, by name Judge Edmonds QC, noted that the crime normally warranted 13 years imprisonment. Yes, 13 years. But considering the mitigating factors such as her guilty plea, her remorse, the fact that she was caught red-handed rather than tracked, and the difficult circumstances of her life, he showed leniency. She was sentenced to 8 years and 8 months in prison. During the trial, Nayeli's lawyer, who's called James Scobin, revealed explosive information. He told the court that his client had been protected by influential people since 2004, that she was currently dating 2 highly profiled Ghanaians, and that she had connections to people with power. But Nayeli refused to mention names. She told the court she feared for her children's safety if she revealed who her protectors were. If I named them, my children might be harmed in Ghana, she said. She also explained how she got into the drug business. She said a 50-year-old businesswoman in Ghana had hired her for this particular job. The $23,000 and the £6,000 were her payment. She claimed she didn't even know the package contained cocaine at first, though the prosecutors found this claim very hard to believe, given her admitted involvement since 2004. And then Nayeli made an unusual plea. She asked the court, "Please repatriate me to Austria, not Ghana, after I serve my sentence." She argued that returning to Ghana would be unsafe, given the high public interest in her case. And so the court noted her request. The judge also mentioned that with good behavior, her sentence could be reduced by half and days spent on remand would be deducted. And so that implied there was a path to early release if she behaved well in prison. Meanwhile, back in Ghana, authorities were busy. A total of 12 people were arrested in connection with Nayeli's case. The 3 most prominent were the officials who facilitated her access to the VVIP lounge. Here we are talking Abiel Ashiteama, the Deputy Director at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who was in charge of the VVIP and VIP lounges. Theophilus Kisi, who was at the Research Department and an official attached to the VVIP lounge at the Kotoka International Airport. Abubakar Ahmed, a civil servant and a protocol officer. These three were charged with abetment of crime and exportation of narcotic drugs. Also arrested were Na Ayele's two traveling companions. We are talking Nana Ikuya Amponsan and Sadalia Nuhu. These women had traveled with Na Ayele but reportedly fled after seeing her arrested at Heathrow Airport. They returned to Ghana and were picked up by authorities. Additionally, several others were arrested, including Alhaji Dawood, also known as Dauda, who was a businessman whose name came up repeatedly during interrogations. He allegedly made phone calls to the VVIP lounges arranging for his people to travel. 5 others were also being investigated. The Ghana Police and Bureau of National Investigations, that's the BNI, were building a case. They took suspects to the airport to reenact how Na Ayele accessed the restricted areas. There they reviewed the CCTV footage and traced phone records. But here's the twist. Charges against most of these people were eventually dropped. The circuit court in Accra later acquitted Alhaji Dawood, Nana Amponsan, Sadalia Nuhu, Abiel Ashiteama, Theophilus Kisi, and Ahmed Abubakar. Why, you would ask? Because there was no sufficient evidence. And that angered many Ghanaians. Now, while Na Ayele sat in a UK prison, Ghanaian authorities moved to confiscate her assets. In April 2016, the Financial and Economic Crimes Division of Accra High Court gave the state permission to confiscate Na Ayele's properties. Justice Georgina Mensah Dacha presided over the case and ruled that, based on the evidence, the properties should be seized. So, what did they take? Her $1.6 million mansion in East Legon, Night Angels Enterprise, which was an electrical store, 6 Fidelity Bank accounts, including one containing just 3 cedis, 22 pesos. That's basically empty. And expensive furniture and items from a shop, some with price tags of 3,200 Ghana cedis. NACOP donated many of these confiscated items. The expensive furniture, they went to government offices. The money in accounts, what little there was, they all went to the state.
Several luxury furniture and other fittings that once belonged to jailed drug baroness Nayele Ametefe. The items were taken over by the state after she was jailed in the United Kingdom for drug trafficking and the trafficking of cocaine worth $5 million in her hand luggage.
Na Ayele had built for herself an empire. And in just a matter of months, it was all gone. Let's fast forward to 2018. But before we discuss the matters that arose in 2018, remember that Na Ayele was sentenced in January 2015 to serve 8 years and 8 months. With good behavior, the judge said she could serve half that time, which would mean roughly 4 years and 4 months. But here's what actually happened. Na Ayele was released in June 2018. That's only about 3.5 years after her conviction. She served barely more than 3 years of her 8-year sentence. Now I know you're probably asking, why is it so? Well, according to sources, she was released on parole for extraordinarily good behavior throughout her time in prison. Parole is a temporary release of a prisoner who agrees to certain conditions before completing their maximum sentence. This is not anything unusual. But releasing someone after serving less than half their sentence, especially for a serious drug trafficking offense, raised a lot of eyebrows. Some speculated that her Austrian citizenship helped. You see, Austria has different policies regarding early release for first-time offenders. There were rumors that she benefited from a prisoner transfer arrangement between the UK and Austria, but officially, the reason given was simple: good behavior. So before her release, Nayeli made a strategic move. She formally applied to the Ghanaian government to renounce her Ghanaian citizenship. In a letter to the Interior Ministry, Nayeli, who held both Ghanaian and Austrian passports, asked authorities to remove her name as a Ghanaian citizen. She wanted to be identified only as Austrian. Why? Well, that's for multiple reasons, likely for safer early release. You see, being identified only as Austrian might help her case for early release or transfer to an Austrian facility. Avoiding return to Ghana. You know, if she was only Austrian, she couldn't be deported back to Ghana, where her properties had been confiscated and where she likely had enemies. Cutting ties with Ghana completely meant she could disappear into Austria and start over. However, the Ghanaian Interior Ministry never publicly commented on whether they approved her request. But effectively, Nayeli severed her connection to the country where she had built her empire. Now, in June 2018, when Nayeli walked out of that UK prison, she didn't go back to Ghana. She went straight to Austria. Family sources confirmed to media outlets that the now 35-year-old was heading to Austria to live a quiet life. She was not returning to Ghana. Her properties there had been confiscated, her reputation destroyed. There was nothing left for her in the country where she had been once a queen. Some photos allegedly showing Nayeli after her release circulated on Ghanaian social media. She looked different, perhaps older, perhaps changed by her experience. But it was hard to verify if the photos were really her, given her history of name changes and even alleged plastic surgery to alter her appearance. One intriguing rumor emerged. Nayeli was reportedly threatening to name names, to reveal who her powerful protectors had been, to expose the powerful people who had shielded her for over a decade. But only if they compensated her for everything she had lost. Whether she ever followed through on that threat, we don't know. No explosive revelations have emerged. So here we are, years later in 2025, and so many questions remain unanswered. Who were her protectors? She never mentioned names, but are they still operating? Have they helped other drug traffickers the same way they helped her? Who was the 50-year-old businesswoman? In fact, who was this woman? Is she still operating? How many other young women has she recruited? What happened to the two women who fled? Yes, they were arrested back in Ghana, but later acquitted. Did they really have cocaine? And if so, what happened to it? Are they still involved in drug trafficking? How many trips did she actually make? Nayeli admitted to being involved in drug trafficking since 2004. That's 10 years before her arrest. So how many successful trips did she make? How much cocaine did she successfully transport? How much money did she really make? Why was she caught this time? If she had been doing this successfully for a decade, why did she get caught on this particular trip? Was it just bad luck attributed to those observant passengers on the flight? Or was she betrayed? Did someone tip off British authorities? Where is she now? It's been years since her release. Is she truly living that quiet life she said she's going to live in Austria? Has she stayed away from drug trafficking? Or has she found new ways to make money? We simply don't know. Well, Nayeli's case wasn't just about one woman. It actually exposed systemic problems in Ghana. Number one, if a drug trafficker could use the VVIP lounge to bypass security checks, what else was getting through? What other contraband? And who else had this level of access? Number two, obviously the case showed how wealthy, connected individuals can operate above the law. You see, Nayeli wasn't some street-level dealer. No, she was a sophisticated operator with high-level connections who protected her for a decade, according to her own words, not ours. Number 3, Nayele's case highlighted how women are recruited into drug trafficking. So many promises of money, exploitation of financial desperation, connections through romantic relationships with powerful men are all common recruitment tactics. Now, let's take a moment to think about Nayele as a person, not just a drag queen or a baroness or a scandal. This was a woman who came from a difficult background, who married young and had 3 children, and then found herself divorced and struggling. She was offered a way out. That's a way to provide for her kids and maintain a lifestyle that she had grown accustomed to. And she took it. Now, was it wrong? Absolutely. Did she know it was wrong? Yes. But it's worth asking, what alternatives did she see? What other paths to that level of wealth and security were available to a divorced single mother in Ghana? Now, I'm not excusing her actions. You see, cocaine actually destroys a lot of lives. The drugs she transported likely fueled addiction, crime, and suffering in the UK and beyond. Her choices had victims. These are people she never saw, but who suffered because of the substances that she moved. But I do think we should ask what creates people like Nayele. What systemic factors push individuals towards organized crime? And how do we address those root causes? Anyway, the story of Nayele Ametefe is many things. Yes, it's a crime story. It's a political scandal. It's a tale of ambition and downfall. It's a window into the dark world of international drug trafficking. But most of all, it is a reminder that in many parts of the world, there are 2 systems of justice. One for the ordinary people and another for the wealthy and connected. Oof. Number 2 is Sedinam Tamaklu. It is April 16th, 2024 in a courtroom in Accra. There is tension in the room. Everyone is waiting. The reporters and lawyers are ready. The judge, Justice Ifia Sewa Asari Botri, a woman known for her no-nonsense approach to the law, looks out at the courtroom. But there is a massive problem. The person who is supposed to be in the dock, the person everyone is looking for, isn't there. The chair is empty. Now, this isn't just a petty offense. We are talking about millions of Ghana cedis. We are talking about money meant for the absolute poorest people in the country. Money meant for fire victims who lost everything. Money meant for small business owners trying to survive. The woman missing from that chair is Sedinam Tamaklu Atiunu. She was once a powerful CEO. She was the boss. And on this day, even without her being there, the hammer fell. 10 years. Yes, 10 years in prison with hard labor. But here's the catch, guys. She wasn't there to hear it. She was thousands of miles away, likely living a free life in the United States, while the Ghanaian justice system sentenced a ghost. How did this happen? How did you steal millions, tell the court you are sick, fly to America, and just never come back? This is the story of a powerful woman who once had it all, but is now considered a Ghanaian fugitive, Sedinam Tamaklu. Now, to understand the crime, you have to understand the job. Sedinam Tamaklu wasn't just a random civil servant pushing paper. She was the chief executive officer of Maslock, Now, for those of you who might not know, MASLOC is an acronym that stands for the Microfinance and Small Loans Center. This is a very important office. The whole point of MASLOC is to help the little guy or the average Joe. If you are a trader in Makola Market and you need a small boost to buy more stock, you go to MASLOC. If you are a young entrepreneur with a brilliant dream but no collateral to get a loan from a big commercial bank, MASLOC is supposed to be your savior. It is an institution built on trust and charity. It is funded by the taxpayer to help lift people out of poverty. From 2013 to January 2017, Sedinam Tamaklu was the woman in charge. She signed the checks. She decided who got money and who didn't. During her time, she was seen as a power player. She moved in high circles. She had the trust of the government at the time. But while everyone thought she was managing funds for the poor, the court records say that she was doing something very, very different. She wasn't alone though. She had a head of operations, a man named Daniel Axim. Now, please keep that name in mind because he's going to play a massive part in this story. Together, they ran the show. But as the saying goes, power tends to corrupt. And in this case, it seems it corrupted absolutely. So, how do you cause a financial loss of over 90 million Ghana cedis? You don't do it all at once. You do it transaction by transaction, scheme by scheme. So, when the new government took over in 2017 and auditors started looking at the books, they found things that didn't make sense. It wasn't just bad math, it was theft. Let's break down the specific schemes that the court found her guilty of. And honestly, some of these are bold. First, let's talk about the Kantamanto market fire. Now, this one was very heartbreaking. A massive fire had swept through the market. Traders lost everything. Their goods, their stores, their livelihoods, all gone up in smoke. The government released money to help them. MASLOC was the vehicle to deliver that help. Evidence showed that Sedinam wrote a letter claiming the president had ordered a payment of 500,000 Ghana cedis. She took a check for that amount in the name of a private investment company called Obatampa Microfinance Company Limited. Now, you would think this money was going to be invested to yield returns for MASLOC, right? Or given to the victims. Here is the twist. The manager of Obatampa, a man named Seth Jadu, testified in court. He said Sedinam brought the check to him, but she didn't want it invested. She demanded that he cash it and give the money back to her. Can you believe that? He told the court that on the 9th of August 24th, 2014, Sedinam met him. He handed her 500,000 cedis in cash. That's $500,000 in cash. She took the money, but there was no record of it going back to MASLOC. There was no record of it going to the fire victims. It just vanished. When the heat started coming down years later, she tried to cover her tracks, but we'll get to that shortly. Please be patient. Next, let's look at the phones. There was a project to sensitize drivers about traffic laws. Okay, that sounds good. MASLOC claimed they bought 200 Samsung mobile phones for this project. The court found out the actual market price for these phones was roughly 24,400 Ghana cedis at the time. But the invoice The invoice was inflated to over 93,000 Ghana cedis. And wait, it gets even worse. Despite paying for 200 phones, they couldn't even account for all of them. It was a classic case of padding the bill. Buy cheap, tell the government it cost a fortune, and keep the difference. Then there were the buses. Maslow bought 350 vehicles. These were supposed to be for the GPRTU, that is the drivers' union. The prosecution presented evidence that the prices of these vehicles were inflated way above the market rate. We are talking about a difference of millions of cedis. Because the prices were so high, the drivers couldn't even afford to buy them from Maslow. So the buses just sat there, rotting, losing value. The state lost money because the CEO decided to buy them at a price that made no economic sense, presumably to favor a specific supplier. And then we have one of the oldest tricks in the book: sensitization. In 2016, just before the general elections, Sedinam claimed she needed money to go around the country to sensitize beneficiaries. She withdrew huge sums of cash. For one trip to the Volta region, she took over 500,000 cedis. For other regions, she took hundreds of thousands more. But when the investigators went to the field, when they asked the district officers, "Hey, did the CEO come here for a big event?" the answer was no. Many of the events she claimed to spend millions on never happened. It was a ghost tour. The receipts were questionable. The timelines didn't add up. It was just a way to pull cash out of the account during an election year. In 2017, the government changed. The National Democratic Congress, that's the NDC, lost. And the New Patriotic Party, that's the NPP, came in. Now, usually when power changes hands in Ghana, the new guys look at the books of the old guys. Just like the NDC did when they came to power in 2025 and declared Ghana's former minister as wanted for corruption charges. Watch the video here if you are yet to. This is a standard procedure when power changes hands. But when the new government, that's NPP, looked at Maslow's books, the auditors probably dropped their calculators. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, known as IOCO, stepped in. They invited Sedinam and Daniel Axim for questioning. They followed the paper trail. They looked at the bank statements. They interviewed the suppliers, and the evidence was overwhelming. In 2019, the state officially charged them. They were slapped with 78 counts: conspiracy to steal, stealing, causing financial loss to the state, causing loss to public property, improper payment of public funds, money laundering. It was a heavy charge sheet. Now, if convicted, they were looking at serious prison time. They pleaded not guilty. Of course they did. Sedinam maintained she was innocent. She claimed it was a political witch hunt. She said she served the country well, so the court granted them bail. The amount? 5 million cedis with 2 sureties. Sedinam found 2 big names to stand for her. Gavivina Tamaklo, who is a familiar name in the arts and movie industry, and Alex Mould, the former CEO of GNPC. These men put their necks on the line for her. They signed the papers saying, if she runs, hold us responsible. But trust is a dangerous thing, guys. Well, so the trial started. Witnesses were called. The manager of Obatampa testified about the cash in the bag he handed over to Sedinam. The investigators showed the fake receipts. It wasn't looking good for Sedinam. Then came October 2021. Sedinam's lawyers filed a motion. They told the court, "My client is sick. She needs specialized medical attention. She needs to go to the United States." Now, courts are human institutions. Judges don't want people dying during trial. So, Justice Efia Sewa Asare Botwe, who is known for being very strict but fair, looked at the request and she granted it. But there were strict conditions. Sedinam was allowed to travel to the USA for medical checks, but she had to be back. The court gave her a specific window, so she packed her bag and boarded a flight to America. The court waited. The prosecution waited. Her co-accused, Daniel Axim, also waited. The return date came and passed. And just like Ken Oforiatta, Sedinam was nowhere to be found. Her lawyers came to court. She is still unwell, they said. She needs more time. The judge gave a little more time, but then weeks turned into months. The medical excuses started to look thin. The court asked for proof. Where are the current medical reports? Why can't she travel? The prosecution, led by the state attorneys, was furious. They told the judge, "She has run away. She is a fugitive." By late 2022 and entering 2023, it became obvious. Sedinam Tamaklo was not coming back to face the music. Allegedly, she had used the oldest trick in the white-collar criminal handbook, the medical excuse escape. Let's take a quick detour to the two men who trusted her, Alex Mold and Gavivina Tamaklo. When Sedinam didn't show up, the court turned its eyes to them. Remember, they signed the bail bond. They promised to pay 5 million cedis if she ran. The judge was not playing games. She summoned them. She told them, "Produce the accused person." But they couldn't. They didn't know where she was. They probably tried calling her. Maybe she picked up. Maybe she didn't. But they couldn't physically drag her back from America to Accra. I told you, trust is dangerous, right? Well, the court gave them an ultimatum. Pay the 5 million cedis or go to jail yourselves. Now, can you imagine the stress? You try to help a friend or a colleague, and suddenly you are facing financial ruin or prison. It was a legal tussle. They pleaded for time. They argued legal technicalities. Eventually, the state had to go through a long process to try and retrieve that money. It was embarrassing and costly for them. Sedinam had left them holding the bag. Now, back in the courtroom, the judge had a decision to make. The main accused person is gone. Do we stop the trial? Do we wait forever? No. Under Ghanaian law, if an accused person refuses to come to court after being given a fair chance, they can be tried in absentia. This means the trial goes on without them. The witnesses still speak. The evidence is still shown. The lawyers still argue. But the defendant's chair is empty. On February 24th, 2023, the court declared Sedinam a fugitive. The judge said, enough is enough. So the trial continued with only Daniel Axim present. Now it must have been lonely for Daniel. Every time a witness pointed a finger, they were pointing at him and the empty chair. He tried to defend himself. He claimed he was just following orders. He said he was intimidated by Sedinam. He said, as a subordinate, he couldn't say no to the CEO. But the law says following orders isn't always a valid excuse if the orders are illegal. The prosecution brought more receipts. They talked about the Kenke party. Yes, you heard me right. A Kenke party. Evidence showed that Sedinam approved money for a sensitization event, but part of the expenses listed was for a Kenke party. The court found that these costs were fabricated or inflated. It was just another way to siphon money. They brought up the Ghana must go back incident again. Now, if you have no idea about what this incident is, I'll explain. You see, the Obatampa manager said when the audit started in 2017, Sedinam got scared. She tried to return the 500,000 cedis she had taken in 2014. Please, listen to this part very carefully. Now, according to the testimony, Sedinam's uncle allegedly contacted the witness to arrange a meeting to return the money. They met at a filling station on the Spintex Road. The money was brought in a Ghana must go bag. But the witness said was smart. He refused to take the cash. He knew the authorities were already investigating. If he took that cash, he would be implicated in a cover-up. So he told them, go and pay it to Yoko or the state directly. That testimony was damning. It showed consciousness of guilt. If you didn't steal the money, why are you trying to return it in a bag at a gas station 3 years later? Fast forward to April 16, 2024, the Judgment Day. Justice Efia Sewa Asaribotri had reviewed all the files. The trial had dragged on for 5 years. It was time for the verdict. She read the judgment. It was long. It was detailed. She went through the counts one by one. On the count of stealing, guilty. On the count of money laundering, guilty. On the count of causing financial loss, guilty. She found that Sedinam and Axim had engaged in a systematic looting of the state. The judge noted that there was no evidence that the sensitization project ever really benefited the poor people of Ghana. It was all a game. She found that the 500,000 cedis for the fire victims was a direct theft, cruel and calculated. She found that the inflated prices for the cars and the phones were deliberate. Then came the sentence. For Daniel Axim, the man who stayed and faced the trial, he got 5 years in prison with hard labor. The judge acknowledged he was a subordinate, but said he should have known better than to sign those documents. He was handcuffed and taken away. For Sedinam Tamaklu, the fugitive in America, 10 years. 10 years in prison with hard labor. The judge didn't mince words. She said the actions of the accused were grave. She spoke about the breach of trust. These funds were for the vulnerable. So Sedinam is now a convicted felon. She is serving a 10-year sentence on paper, but in reality, she is free. But is she? You see, being a fugitive isn't easy. You are always looking over your shoulder. every phone call from an unknown number scares you. You don't have the freedom of movement. Well, the Ghanaian government has declared they will extradite her. The Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Tuah-Yeboah, spoke to the media immediately after the judgment. He said, she can run, but she cannot hide. He explained that Ghana has laws and treaties with the United States. They have started the process to have her arrested and shipped back to Accra to serve her time. But extradition is tricky. It takes time. It involves diplomats, lawyers, and human rights arguments. Sedinam's lawyers might argue that she won't get proper medical care in a Ghanaian prison. They might fight every step of the way. However, her reputation is shattered. She is the first female CEO of a major state institution in Ghana's recent history to be sentenced to such a heavy term for corruption. Her legacy at Maslock, which should have been about empowering women and small businesses, is now defined by that empty chair and the 90 million cedis loss. Now, why does this story matter? Because 90 million cedis isn't just a number. It could have been life-changing for the market women selling under the hot sun. It could have equipped small business owners. You see, when public officials steal, they aren't stealing from a faceless government. They are stealing from the people. And to you watching this video, pointing foul fingers at people like Sedinam, Kenoforiata, can you hit your chest and boldly say you can be trusted with state funds if you ever find yourself in such a position of power? In that hospital, office, bank, factory, market, or school you work at, are you without blemish in your line of duty? You see, corruption doesn't start from the government offices. It starts from us, from the everyday people, because we are the same ones that rise to occupy such offices of power. And this is a lesson for us all. As for Sedinam Tamaklu Ationu, she had it all. We are talking power, influence, and respect. But she wanted more. And in that pursuit of that more, she lost her freedom. The most wanted woman ever in Ghana at number 1 is Aisha Wang. This Chinese woman entered Ghana under a new name and identity, built a gold empire in secret, dodged deportation, and silenced critics with power and cash. Now, she's in prison in Ghana, serving her jail time. Today's story is the saga of the most wanted woman in Ghana, once upon a time, Aisha Wang, who was also known as the Galamsey Queen. Now, who truly is Aisha Wang? Look, the woman Ghana knew as Aisha Wang wasn't really Aisha at all. Her real name was N. Wang. She was a Chinese national who built one of the most powerful illegal gold mining networks Ghana has ever seen. She didn't just break the law. She married a Ghanaian to get local connections, used fake documents, and allegedly bought off top officials. Now, what is crazy is that she got deported once, then came back and made millions from Ghana's gold until they caught her. And it was not just once, but twice. Born in China, N. Wang adopted the name Aisha 1 before arriving in Ghana sometime before 2015. Now, this was a smart move because the local name gave her cover, which made her seem less foreign and less suspicious. And so by early 2022, she had a Ghana card. Now, this is an official identity document that is used in Ghana. Despite being officially deported from Ghana in 2018, now think about that. Deported, banned, and yet holding a legal Ghanaian ID just 4 years later. So, how did she get back in? Well, there are reports that say she entered through Togo, which is a neighboring country, quietly slipping across the border, even though she was banned from returning and her face should have been flagged at every checkpoint. So, once back in Ghana, she didn't waste time. She began to launch a massive illegal mining operation in the Ashanti region, specifically in Bepotinting, which is in the Amansie West District. And so from 2015 through to 2017, she ran these mines without licenses, permission, or oversight. Then she brought in Chinese nationals to work for her and negotiated with local farmers to use their land for gold digging. In court, the farmers told a familiar story. She promised to pay for the land, but when payment time came, it's either she paid less than agreed or she didn't pay at all. Meanwhile, their farmland was destroyed, gone, and unusable. The scale of her mining operations was massive. Now, while exact figures haven't been publicly confirmed, her operations were so big that she earned the title Galamsey Kingpin, which made her one of the key players in Ghana's illegal mining crisis. And the damage? Serious environmental destruction, with many rivers polluted, forests cleared, and national resources drained, all for gold. You know what? Her success came down to one thing: fake documents. Even after being banned from Ghana, she returned under a different identity. She secured a Ghana card under her real name, N1, but with a different birth date. And this single change was what allowed her to slip through the system undetected. Now, with these fake papers, she operated in plain sight. She opened a massage spa business, ran mining sites, traded gold, and employed foreign nationals, all without legal approval and all while supposedly banned from the country. But the real controversy was her alleged connections to people in high places. A member of parliament from Pro East publicly stated that Aisha didn't act alone. She had people in official positions helping her.
What I wonder is that what has happened to Ghanaian political bigwigs who have provenly been involved in Galamsey. What are we doing? And what has also happened to their accomplices? She didn't do this alone. She had accomplices, either in officialdom or the boys on the streets. What has happened to them? So we should not be seen to be only targeting foreigners.
Okay.
We should deal with all those who were involved in that crime. If we do that, no country can come and say, why are you jailing our citizen? Because your citizen was part of a syndicate.
All right.
I think that is where, by the way, what has happened to the fight against Galamsey?
Many Ghanaians believe officials inside government institutions either turned a blind eye or they actively helped her continue illegal activities for years. Because how else could someone operate so openly after being deported? Well, that is alleged. And this question is for you to answer. So in early 2018, the authorities finally arrested her. The Attorney General's office filed charges for illegal mining, and the case looked strong with clear evidence. Then, something strange happened. The prosecution was dropped. Just like that. And she was deported. How, you may ask? But the deportation wasn't the end. Not for Aisha Wang. No. Not long after being sent back to China, she managed to sneak back into Ghana using a different identity and different routes, but returning back to the same business. By 2022, she had restarted the illegal gold mining operations, back in the same areas and using the same methods, like she never left. But eventually, Ghana's intelligence and security services tracked her down again. She was rearrested in 2022, and this time, the state wasn't letting go. And then came the trial. In November 2022, at the Accra High Court, Aisha Wang faced 4 serious charges. 1. Mining without a license. 2. Helping others mine illegally. 3. Hiring foreign nationals without permission. And 4. Entering Ghana even though she was banned. Now at first, she pleaded not guilty to everything. But in May 2023, she changed her tune and admitted guilt to the charge about illegally re-entering the country through a plea deal with state prosecutors. So the trial brought witness after witness. Farmers came and described how she rented their farmland and then destroyed it. Immigration officers explained the passport irregularities. Then local leaders also came and testified about the corruption. And then investigators detailed the environmental damage. Now there was one particularly striking testimony that came from the witnesses who said that their communities now had to start buying sachet water because local streams were too polluted to drink. That is what her operations did. They poisoned the water supply. Well, on December 4th, 2023, which was the judgment day, the presiding judge, Justice Lydia Osemafo, delivered her judgment, finding her guilty on 3 charges under Ghana's old mining law, the Minerals and Mining Act 703, which was later changed to Act 900. The sentence was 4 years and 6 months in prison, plus a fine of 48,000 Ghana cedis, which is 36,000 Ghana cedis for mining-related offenses and 12,000 Ghana cedis for illegally re-entering the country, with the prison terms to be served concurrently. But here's the catch. The judge noted that she would have given a harsher punishment under the new mining law, Act 995 from 2019, which allows up to 25 years in prison and fines exceeding 4 million Ghana cedis. So the question is, why didn't she use it at all? Well, in Ghana's constitution, you can't apply a new law to crimes committed before the law was passed. And Aisha's crimes were crimes that happened from 2015 to 2017, while the harsher law came in 2019. So constitutional protection prevented the use of the old law. Now, people found that lenient, but hey, it is what it is. Now, prosecutors wanted the harshest punishment possible, but the judge's hands were tied by the older law. And so after the sentencing, the court ordered deportation once her prison time ends. The prosecutors argued that her illegal mining caused massive damage to the economy and the environment, which left many rivers polluted, farms destroyed, and communities still not recovered. Ghana's Attorney General at the time also wasn't satisfied, so he announced an appeal. The government believes the newer tougher law should apply, despite the crimes being older. He also asked the public not to view the sentence as too soft and to understand that the court was following the law as it existed when the crimes were committed. But the damage to public trust was done. There were many Ghanaians who felt that justice wasn't really served. 4.5 years for nearly 10 years of environmental destruction, and also a 48,000 Ghana cedi fine when she likely made millions. Come on, that is a joke. Many Ghanaians fumed. But anyway, Aisha Wong's case became a symbol of Ghana's entire illegal mining crisis. This was somebody who ran illegal operations for nearly a decade, from her first arrival in the mid-2010s until her final arrest in 2022, remaining in prison until her December 2023 sentencing. Now, the financial impact is huge. There are experts who say illegal mining cost Ghana up to $2 billion in lost tax revenue every year. Now, if Aisha controlled even a fraction of that through her network, she handled millions of dollars in gold over the years. And her case exposed how foreign nationals exploit weak enforcement, corrupt networks, and identity loopholes. The fact that she even obtained a new Ghana card after her deportation raised some serious questions. How are these documents issued? Who is responsible for verification? And who let her through? Now, on September 22nd, 2022, Ghana's Minister of Foreign Affairs, who was then in opposition, dropped a surprise on social media. And his investigation revealed shocking details. His expose revealed that Aisha Wong had a physical presence in Ghana from as far back as February 27, 2019, which is more than 3 years before anyone officially knew that she was back. She lived between Ghana and Togo for over 3 years before getting her Ghana card on February 27, 2022. She used at least 2 Chinese passports, one under the name Wang N, passport number G395755625, which was issued on January 14, 2010, and another under Wang Ruxia, passport number EE999469, issued on January 14, 2019. Now, here's the strange part. Both passports had different birth dates. The N1 passport listed her birth date as July 7, 1986, while the Ruxia Wang passport listed it as November 7, 1975, making her 11 years older. Her China identity card showed she was born on November 7, 1975, but her Ghana non-citizen identity card said July 7, 1986. And so that implies she told different governments different ages. And even stranger, her N1 passport hadn't expired yet when she got the Ruxia Wang passport. It was scheduled to expire on January 13, 2020, but she went on to get the new one on January 14, 2019, which made it a full year early. Now, you notice the pattern. Both passports were issued on January 14th in different years, but same date. Now, isn't that a coincidence? And so, before her arrest, she deliberately damaged the electronic component of a Ruxia Wang passport, trying to destroy the evidence. The investigation from the foreign minister, that is Mr. Blakwa, revealed more disturbing facts. Her multiple trips between Togo and Ghana since February 2019 weren't done secretly. In fact, she physically presented herself to Ghana immigration officials at the Aplao border on February 27, 2019 and April 28, 2019, and those are official border crossings. But despite changing her names and birth dates, her biometrics didn't raise alarms, even though they were already captured at Kotoka International Airport and by the NIA, that's the National Identification Authority. The system should have then flagged her instantly because her details were stored in Ghana's PICE system. PICE here referring to Personal Identification Secured Certified Evaluation System. And this should have triggered alerts unless she had top collaborators within the security institutions. And so the minister, Okudzeto Ablakwa, who was in opposition by then, raised a crucial question. Why didn't Ghana share intelligence about Aisha Wang with neighboring countries? This is standard practice for wanted criminals and would have limited her movements in the sub-region. His conclusion was that there is still no credible evidence that Aisha Wang was actually deported to China as claimed. The minister didn't hold back. He stated that it was inexplicable that many Ghanaian officials involved in this conspiracy hadn't been fired or charged alongside Aisha. And so he called it a mockery of humongous proportions, that all the security ministers kept their jobs, suggesting that when nobody in authority is punished for such an international disgrace, the only logical conclusion is that national leadership, right from the presidency, is complicit. The minister also argued that Aisha's charges were deliberately scanty, narrow, and superficial to protect guilty accomplices in high places. He also made additional accusations against Ghana's past ruling government, but we won't delve into those because this is not a political platform. Here, we only tell stories. Now, here comes the shocking part involving Christian Adokufor, a man who claimed to be a former associate of Aisha Wang. In the year 2019, he went on Joy FM, which is a popular Ghanaian radio station, and over there made some wild allegations. Now, according to Christian, he watched Aisha shoot a Ghanaian man dead over a misunderstanding at night at a mining site. He also said something that revealed her power. When I heard they had remanded Aisha, I was shocked. Who are you to arrest Aisha? How can you dare arrest her? He said this in Twi, confirming her reported untouchability. Joy FM documented the story, where Christian recalled how he got involved with Aisha through soldiers who asked him to help her illegal work back in 2011, noting, I have never done galamsey before. Now, according to Christian, here is how protected Aisha was. Before government anti-illegal mining task forces would storm any site in Aisha's area, she would get a tip-off from soldiers or police officers, some of which were holding significant positions. Now, Christian also revealed something else. The Chinese illegal miners feared and hated Aisha. For Aisha, she had an appetite for cutthroat competition in the race for Ghana's mineral resources. One time, he recalled, Aisha handed him a pump-action gun with 8 rounds of ammunition with the order to finish off a Chinese competitor named Song, who had brand new excavators that Aisha wanted. I was so afraid, Christian said, fully grasping that resisting the assignment could mean his own death. Now, inside the forest, he found Son in a makeshift kitchen at a mining site. But Christian disclosed Aisha's plan to Son, saying he would fire a warning shot and return to Aisha, claiming he met only Ghanaian illegal miners, but the main target wasn't around. Christian also made more wild allegations against Aisha, and we'll leave the link to the full article in the description box for your own perusal. You can go and read it. Today, many politicians and activists call for deeper investigations into the officials who helped her. The officials put it bluntly, to really fight illegal mining, arresting foreigners isn't enough. Local accomplices also must be exposed and prosecuted. The places where she operated remain damaged. Rivers in the Ashanti region are still polluted. There are some farms that haven't recovered, and people are continuing to buy packaged water for daily use, all because their natural sources have been destroyed. Activists argue the long-term cost of environmental destruction and lost cocoa production that far exceeds any fine that the court imposed. For now, Aisha Wang remains in a Ghanaian prison, awaiting deportation once her jail term ends. This is the woman who built a gold empire, dodged deportation, silenced critics with power and money, allegedly had people killed and corrupted officials at the highest levels. Today, she sits in a cell serving her sentence, and when her time is up, she will be sent back to China, banned from Ghana again. Now the question is, will the ban stick this time? Or will the Galamsey Queen find another way back? Only time will tell. Watch these 2 videos next if you love deep dives into more stories like this one. And please don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next video.